Howdy, homies. We've got the Shambler versus Art of Turtle today in our cast of Cosmonarchy. And you know what that means. AOT in the bottom right of Apollo here is going to be our Japanese Violet player. Our Zerg player, of course. And the Shambler's up here as the yellow Terran. So, things have been going pretty well in terms of, the Shambler playing his Terran heart out. However, Zerg has apparently been the matchup he dislikes the most. And definitely one of those things that, as far as I can tell, is something that he wants to practice up on, right? So this is actually games that were played between these two. Were done before the tournament, right? So it's kind of interesting to think about that. Definitely, like going back a little bit, because the last tournament we had was, of course, the March Royal Invitational, or just strict the Royal from the record. It was the March Invitational, and it was in the last day of March. So pretty cool stuff. Of course, Shambler going bio, but interesting to note, he's kind of putting it away from his ramp, which is going to delay his units from coming out a little bit more. This is one of those maps where, the cross distance is a little bit high. Shambler going to be pivoting his way down into his opponent's base to see what's going on, but we see nothing cheesy is really afoot here from Art of Turtle. Looks like he's going to go ahead and drop his second Larvosk to B as he continues to saturate his mineral line. And yeah, I mean, obviously Zergs want to get those Larvosks up in the early stages of the game. They come up faster in terms of time because they cost almost the same amount of money, a little bit cheaper in ultimate resources. However, as Shambler's heckling the Droleths here, it's worth pointing out that, of course, Oh, you're loose in the mineral line, buddy. I would watch out if I were you. Okay, yeah. He thinks better of it. It's a tense moment as he's trying to kill that one worker from Art of Turtle, who's allowing it to happen right now. He's pretty damn low on HP. Gonna go on a wild goose chase. This is about even. It's kind of neutralizing the disadvantage of Shambler out here with his worker scout, but it's not going to escape, right? So you're kind of consigning your worker to death instead of immediately pulling back when you see this kind of delayed thing. So one Zethicor is going to be hanging out to heckle that mace and make sure he can't just sit idle doing nothing, while the rest of the Zethicors are going to be pouring their way across the map. The problem is, of course, that Shambler has all those Mavericks in play. So these Zeths are mostly just going to be here for some map control. Maybe they could burrow off to the side and threaten some kind of counter push. One of them will go down. No stim from the Shambler. He's kind of dancing around. Now, Art of Turtle can either try to navigate around and see if he can get into the base and do some damage, or he can just kind of dog the Mavericks, make sure that they're not moving across unabated. That one Mason's still alive right now. AOT not sparing the APM to micro his worker kill, I should say. And the stim does come out now, and of course these units are struggling a little bit. Probably clicked back and just to the main base, so they take the most obvious path. There, finally, the Mason will go down. And it looks like the Mavericks are indeed going to cancel their pursuit. I love that Art of Turtle is continuing to kind of stall out his push. He's got a couple idle Droleths here, but I love that he's sort of just kind of scouting what's going on. He's going to try and pivot based on that a little bit, and here comes the stim committal. Shambler trying his best to just remove the Zethicors from the equation. They're still around doing a little bit of scouting. We've got double circuit over here. Obviously, the positioning could be a little bit better, but Apollo is a map that's really hard to get to the main ramp, right? So good luck with that. No expansion for Art of Turtle. Shambler's Ministry is finishing up back at home, and it will, of course, float in. So as these quads are finishing up, a lot of these Mavericks are loose in the base. That's a little bit of a flub from Art of Turtle to not do some kind of cancellation here. Could have gone for a burrow instead to save his workers as well. A lot of mistakes being made by our Zerg player here. He absolutely could have just kind of run over the Mavericks with his quads as they were hatching if he had been quick enough with it. As it stands, he loses 4 workers, at least, maybe a little bit more, not quite sure. His one Zethicor is going to see that there's no expansion yet, but the Ministry is about to float over and it'll be revealed to him. 3rd Stockade and 2 Fulcrums being added in the background. So Shambler clearly not going to be sticking to just a pure setup in that respect. He's not going to stick to bio only. Looks like he's got Mavericks patrolling the corner bases. Hydra's Den coming up as the follow. Yeah, these circuits ended up being pretty important, but predictably, Shambler just ran past them, right? And I don't think AOT expected them to just be, kind of aura the hostiles back or anything. I think the Mavericks should have been expected to run past, especially when it's Shambler. I love that he baits out of the stim. He's going to force a second stim around as that one does indeed expire, the first of it. And there you go. The Mavericks will clean up. But, you know, thinning the herd. This isn't terrible for Art of Turtle, even though he's behind in terms of economy. Zerg has that propensity to be able to shoot up. And, well, once you get to a certain level of tech and level of, you know, static defense placement, there's really not much that Bio alone can do in these small quantities, right? Especially when your opponent did invest in that expansion. It's not like they've got Omega, you know, stockade counts behind that. So this is working okay. It's going to be a double quaz drop. Right now, these Ovoliths are waypointed directly over this well-placed Maverick from the Shambler. So this is one of the risks of, like, when he lost those Zetracors earlier on, he could have maybe tried to patrol around the area, and he's probably not going to react fast enough to cancel this out. Yeah, it's going to be seen by Art of Turtle, but Shambler doesn't look at the minimap ever. So even though this is the slowest moving path away, he did not pan down there whatsoever. And I mean, I could give him a little bit of credit and say, like, okay, he saw the dots on the minimap and he just expects it's a drop. But no, he actually has no clue at all. He's like, yeah, whatever. I mean, he's making a madrigal, so he might be able to at least heckle the Ovoliths on the way out. But his general gist here is not looking too hot. There's the ski-back scab nearly finishing up here, and 5 Hydras about to hatch. So we're clearly going to go for some Bactylisks. This is going to unload. It looks like maybe Shambler saw that. Does he? I thought he panned down there. Yeah, okay, he's going to be aware of it now. You can actually go after the star pad here, and Art of Turtle knows that. The armor count not very high. Mason's immediately getting evacuated. I'd chunk down that Vestries next, but he's going to come out over here and realize, oh, you already evacuated your workers. So yeah, he's going to go after the next expendable target, which would be the Vestry. Unfortunately, I'm not sure he's going to get it. Maybe just narrowly. The Mavericks could have been cleaned up earlier to reduce that. But yeah, he will end up killing the Vestry. Not bad, I suppose. Gonna have to be rebuilt. Cost him a little bit of Vespine. Starpad comes back up as well. Did Shambler make any air units? No, actually. That Starpad was there for some time and no Ant Seal was made. If that was like the predicate to a massive Lake Hyzilisk push, that would potentially be quite deadly, since you knocked out the Vestry, so you can't make Shamans. You knocked out the Starpad, you can't make Ant Seals. 0 detection tools afforded to the Shambler right now. He will go ahead and drop a Watchdog in key locations and preemptively lay some mines. Ooh, 1 Quaz got borrowed over here. That's kind of interesting. The Hydras are sharking around right now. I saw 1 Bactylisk being made, but not that many others. No attack move there from Art of Turtle. Obviously, it gives Shambler a little bit less time to react himself, so the cleanup is looking okay. But now we've got the Phalanxes in position. That's 3 of them. You don't have enough Bactyls to really break this position. The Ovolith here to detect is pretty good. He's going to see if he can maybe combat drop on top of those Phalanxes, but he did not split his army on the ground, so the natural choke is just getting utterly eviscerated. We got more Phalanxes on the way. A little bit more focus fire from the units that are here could have cleaned up more of the artillery, but as it stands, it looks like only 2 Phalanxes will fall. Maybe he could have tried to pick off that last one, but yeah, the Ovoliths are indeed kind of just haphazardly dashing about, and they will, I guess they won't end up dying. But it got pretty close. Oh, that Madrigal could end up getting baited out. Okay, well, Shambler is going to pull it back for the reinforcements, but I don't know, man. It's still looking like that Madrigal will fall. Bit of a poor split damage there from the Hydras. They fall first, and, well, Quaz on top of Phalanxes, I almost never see this. I think the last time I saw that was a game on Paradise I played versus Top Ramen, where I went Quaz only. Yeah, I didn't win that one. But that was an amusing situation, at the very least. And so a flashback of sorts, as Shambler reposts the Quaz attack. That 1 Quaz in the background, mostly just going to be there for intel, I suppose. It can unburrow at some point. Ant Seal's now being made. It's going to be a Hydra drop, actually, including with that wounded Ovolith, which is always a little bit scary. But we don't have any combat units to pincer in the meantime, right? And it looks like this 1 Maverick, it has 1 kill. I don't know if that was another worker. Oh my god, I only just now noticed AOT is only now going for his expansion. He is making a second hatch elsewhere, and of course the Ant Seal did reveal. Maybe he can actually jump on top of this Ant Seal and kill it. That's what I would potentially be targeting here. Kind of lets himself loose and goes after the Phalanx. Good movements there. He will end up sniping it. He'll kill it, clear the Shaman as well. Just kind of looking around. What can I find? What can I spot? The Quazalisk ends up getting stunned by a random mine, which is very hilarious. He does clear a Watchdog, but that'll likely be rebuilt. So really no critical damage dealt here. That was just like, you watch two fighters punch each other in the face in the middle of the octagon, but somehow they did no lethal damage. It was all just surface level flesh wounds. couple Drollets were out in the middle of nowhere. These Mavericks have yet to find a kill. Yeah, so no third base coming for AOT just yet. Still on the one base eco, and his main base is starting to deplete. Once the minerals deplete, you can only mine with them mine from them with 2 workers. Everything else is wasted, and the second worker is only 25% efficient. So you go from, imagine if you were getting like 8 minerals per whatever increment of time. You're not, but just for the sake of argument to illustrate the point. The first worker, if the first worker gave you 8 minerals, the next worker, instead of giving you 16, would just give you like 10, right? So it's like 10 total, right? So that's a really steep decline. Looks like this Droleth is going to find out the hard way that there's still a Maverick guarding that position. It isn't actually placed in a way to block the construction, but he has no money. Oh, he has got the money now, but he's drawn the Maverick in. So again, you know, Shambler not immediately reacting to that little blip on the minimap, but he's got a pretty big mech army now with a couple of bio units, including Cyprians. I have heard tales of Cyprian phalanx starting to spread around. I think that might only be in the underclass community, if you will, of Cosmonarchy. We do have players that are playing at a lower level than what we're seeing today in this particular game. And so those newer players, if you will, those newer players are definitely, they're peddlers of strange strategies, that's for sure. But I do like that I'm seeing a little bit more, discovery and exploration. Art of Turtle realizing, okay, well, my opponent is thinking about maybe moving out, and I've got Khazitra Bactylisks here, which can hold out against a lot. But my third base is not going to be able to survive unless I get some serious assistance. Zorkish Shroud on the way. Bunch of Zethra-cores here as well. So the Zethra-cores are probably going to be used for a potential counter push, especially as the Ovaleth once again scouts are out over here. Those Zeths really need to be moving somewhere else. I wonder if... something about the way that AOT is playing this game where his movements feel a little bit sluggish. He is definitely giving Shambler the runaround here. By the way, like the Terran army could move across and get a lot more value than what it's doing right now, where you could just try to defend this with your rally or what have you. So a little bit of a mistake there from Shambler. In fact, maybe a big mistake if AOT is able to solidify his hold on the third base just by running Zeths around. But nonetheless, between how he used his initial Zethra-cores, which I didn't dislike, it's just it felt like maybe there was an opportunity for him to do more, and his kind of sluggish movements in this game, I do wonder if he's bringing it back, the laptop strat where he just plays tournament games on a goddamn laptop. That's basically what happened at one point. Do the Zets pounce on the opportunity to clear the Madrigal? They sure damn do. Of course, there's plenty of other units here and there, so I don't really think this is going to pose too much of a threat. Maybe he can pick that one stockade in the middle of nowhere. No, he's actually going after the Masons. And, the friendly fire from the Phalanx might help out a little bit. Not quite enough to clear that Madrigal. Oh, juicy shot! There we go! We love to see it. Almost 1,000 damage, and much of it done to himself. Now, Shambler is descending upon 6 o'clock. He'll find nothing there. However, the rally can come down over here from AOT in the natural choke, and the rest of them are kind of out in front, protecting that third base. So this could be a nice little crunch if he's not ready for it. That being said, it does feel like he's probably quite ready for it, as he's got his Shaman in position, he's got his Ant Seals in position. Oh, gotta watch out for those Bactylisks, though. Where's the split from Art of Turtle? He's got 4 Gorgor-cores in production. Those are about to hatch, but the army is fighting a little bit too soon, it feels like. A lot of these Phalanxes, crucially not in siege mode, might actually end up benefiting the Shambler, as when they do go into siege mode, the Bactylisks start to damage them a lot more. These Izira-cores somehow paying for themselves as well, in terms of their longevity. And where's the anti-air? I don't think there is any. There's one Maverick left as the Gorgor-cores come out, and that is not going to cut it. He's going to push forward anyway. As they get close to the Khazitra, if it stays alive, the Gorgs are actually going to be able to do even more damage. A couple random Rilla core helps out as well. Good evacuation on those Drolets. Is he going to go after the Khazitra or what? Gorgor-cores have arrived. Okay, you can see Shambler's just trying to get a little bit of damage dealt over here. He is going to go ahead and regress the Khazitra in the natural. It's a little bit of a gas dump there. AOT, full chaos mode, has not started any units or structures. Nothing in production. His Zethra-cores hatched, though, and that will be enough for him to clear. Very expensive losses for the Shambler there. He had no anti-air after that big fight. That was such I can't believe it. A demolition of the Shambler's army that I still think he has got a stark advantage here. He's got 3 saturated bases to the 0 of AOT. I'm counting this as 0 since it's a depleted base. Basically right now, AOT has he's only now setting himself up to mine from 2 bases and a little bit. Admittedly, Shambler's also depleted in the main, and he's starting to deplete in the natural, so maybe it's a little bit more grim than I thought, but his economy is indubitably better, despite the worker count being similar. And now that will maybe reset as AOT saturates his third base. He's perfectly saturated at the natural if you believe in the shopkeeper dog theory of never oversaturating your bases. Bitty tile. But I do think that there's a big argument here to be saying that AOT needs to be expanding territory, and I'm not so sure he's going to hold up to the next push, since that would expand his surface area. You know, this is a map where I feel like it's the graduation from 3 base to 4 base really difficult. Look at the way that you expand out here. This is massively open, including to a path that will give your opponent cliff advantage if they take it. And the same way going to 6 o'clock, it's very, very split. Now, this ministry is going to get canceled by AOT's stab up with his Zeths and Gorgs, and he could go after that lone Phalanx off to the side with those Gorgs as well, or maybe even just with the Zeths themselves. Force a bit of an awkward position here. No cancel on that ministry, but I guess Shambler has money. It's just that's 300 minerals down the drain that he could have reclaimed. Sending a couple Masons to the bottom left, at least that is a position where you can get some value in, but it looks like maybe the Zethicors have already thought of that, or at least AOT has, sending his Zeths down there to clear that out. So that will be done as Tier 2 is on the way for our Zerg player. Nothing of the sort intact and alive. It's kind of fortuitous for AOT that Shambler didn't take advantage of his map control and send workers in those corner base locations until just this moment. So they basically got like 2 returns in, and then they were annihilated, exfoliated, including these Masons. There's like 7 or so that got sent out. So AOT now has the worker advantage. Gorg's going to go ahead and clean them up. Oh man, he has no idea, but there's almost nothing over here. If he went for that attack, I think he would have actually done it. There's 10 Gorgs here right now, man. Now, how many madrigals does he have with his army? A good number. This one's going to be a lot harder to clear than the way that he did before. Most notably, he has almost no Bactylisks, right? He's got 15 Hydras in production. This could be the knockout punch at the worst possible time for AOT, since he is just now getting his tier 2 up. 1 Bactylisk starts. We need a hell of a lot more, and there's no stalling factor for AOT. I almost feel like he had to go in and attack there because he was posturing like he had map control, but in reality, he has nothing. Going for that 3 o'clock base, it's up, but not mining. AOT has legs in the rest of the game if Shambler just dallies. Both players kind of playing around with what they could possibly do. The Zoryus try to pounce. There's not really anything to follow them up with. And as those sieges come in, I'm really quite worried about what's going to happen to Art of Turtle's army. He's attacking before his Bactylisks even come out. Oh no, all the Gorgorcors go up and smoke the Madrigals, just dealing all that splash damage and eventually bringing them down. And he's got nothing else as contingency. If this game goes on for another 30 seconds without critical damage being done, 2 Madrigals hitting the third base, and more of them on the way, maybe AOT can sprout something out with his Spire finishing, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think this is a very bizarre, action-oriented game, just kind of like that Shambler versus Aoud game that we casted on Potodea not so long ago. This was a brawl and a half, and it just must be said, what a bizarre method of making things happen. I'm impressed. I'm perhaps a little perturbed. I am definitely surprised. GG, AOT has been exfoliated indeed, and the Shambler will shamble his way to victory. That was a strange one. That was a very strange one. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the cast, despite how strange it was, or maybe perhaps because of it. We will be back tomorrow for more Cosmonarchy. So if you're not subscribed, well, fix that right now, and I'll see you on the server, our Discord server. Maybe I'll even see you on the coffee page with the donor exclusive goodies. I'll definitely be seeing you tomorrow for some more Cosmonarchy. GG.